We're recording. All right. Professor Beth Egan, the hostess with the mostest, and your co-host, temporary co-host, maybe. I don't know, but I'm wearing my co-host shirt today, Beth.
I love it.
Feeling good
I
about
love
it.
it.
We're gonna have one of these for the merch store eventually, right? Like we gotta bring in more, more money for the travel. So here's our show today. No guest, but we have I think I have a fun concept that we're gonna have to figure out a name. My working title is very simple. It's called The Media Game, but I don't think that should stick. I think we're gonna, it's like Spin the Bottle meets Media or something like that. I don't know.
For the record, I have no idea what he's got up his sleeve.
Yeah, this is gonna be foreign, and it's gonna surprise Professor Egan. But I wanted to start off, Beth. I've run into this a couple times in maybe the last few months. First off, let me just say I've been watching more television than usual. Number one, because my Knicks were in the playoffs pretty late into the season. This led to some Yankee games. It's now led me to my hobby in the world of cycling has led me into my Peacock, and I'm watching a lot of the Tour de France. But what I wanted to talk about, and the reason why I bring it up is I've been getting these T-Mobile ads with Billy Bob Thornton in them. And I'm looking at these ads with Billy Bob Thornton and I'm going, why is Billy Bob Thornton in a T-Mobile ad? It's just beyond me. I know he doesn't have a movie out right now. Like, there's no apparent reason for Billy Bob Thornton to be walking in a, Western big sky environment talking about the great network that T-Mobile has. Okay. So over the last week or so, in this very house, it was discovered that there's a reason why Billy Bob Thornton is on a T-Mobile ad. As we're a little bit late to the party here, my lovely wife watching a show called Landman, which Billy Bob Thornton is the star. So now this starts to make sense. But here's my question to you, and this goes back to similar to my business card conversation and how old I am in terms of media, is we're at a friend's house last night. And we're kind of catching up. We hadn't seen them for a couple months. They live down the block. Kids are older. You're not as, you don't go to the park anymore when you get to my age and my kids. And we're sitting there, we're having a nice, fun little time.
Till they start putting the wheelchair out there.
That's right. Then I'll be right with them. And we started talking, and Paula brought up the show Landman. And right off the bat, it was clear that they had never watched it or heard of it. And why I thought of this is I was also recently talking to a bunch of people about Thursday night NBC television and the water cooler, where the expression water cooler conversation comes from. So I wanted to know, as somebody who is deep in the media, this has got to be difficult or more difficult for you as if you had a brand who really wanted to be with the hottest shows and whatever else. Like, is this something that is like the flattening of media, new phenomenon, Professor Egan? Like, give us a little bit on this before we get into the meat and potatoes of our show today.
Yeah, I don't think it's anything strikingly new-ish, I guess I would say.
Yeah. Yep.
We started talking about this, even when we had must-see TV on Thursday nights on NBC, in the context of the long tail. So, we were recognizing the fact, 20, 25 years ago, obviously we had shifted from the 3 network model where we could reach 90% of all households in one of 3 shows. I think it has been there for a while. I think we just kind of ignored it because we still had the hits. So as long as we still had the hits where we could get that high reach, even though those number of hits was dwindling, they existed. And then we all clamored and, tried to get our position in those shows. That's why every year clients would complain at the upfront, if ratings are declining, why am I paying a higher CPM? And that was really almost 100% focused on the idea that we had fewer and fewer shows where we could get that reach that we were looking for. So I think it's been around for a while. I think what we're feeling now, and we've discussed this before on the show, what we're feeling now is the impact of so many different streaming services, cord cutting becoming more the norm than the exception. And, there's no way everyone can keep up with everything.
Well, I think that's
And
my point, right? Like, if you were going to say to me, well, would your client come to you and be like, "Hey, how come I'm not on this really hot show, on Netflix, or on Paramount or on Peacock or whatever network?" And you're sitting there going, "Well, there's no more upfront. I didn't know, right? And who knew that Landman was going to be some big hit over the spring summer of 2025, right? I mean,
well, I think the thing that saves people like me back in the
yeah,
day
yeah,
is everything is so data driven now. We're not, in many cases, we're not even talking reach anymore,
right.
which I have a really hard time wrapping my head around. I mean, we're talking about here are the impressions that we delivered. We know the fallacy of impressions. Um, it could be the same person a million times. Obviously, I'm being facetious.
Yeah,
But the impressions don't give me any sense of the real impact that I'm making.
right.
And I think the other thing that I don't hear people talking enough about at all is the way a rating is calculated. It takes into account how audiences flow in and out of programs. The way impressions are calculated is how many times that URL was loaded. So we're saying, we said the Super Bowl got more impressions online than ever before. I'm sure it did, but when we talk about how many impressions the Super Bowl got this past year, we're not factoring in if I logged onto the Super Bowl to watch,
Mm,
the first 10 minutes and then I went off and did something else and then I came back again. That's not viewership.
yeah, yeah, and this brings up a topic that we're both pretty sad about. And I was gonna bring this up in terms of obviously some news in media. But in this particular case, I just wanted to let you know I might be part of the problem. The fact that I go to sleep now at like 9:45 at night means that I don't make it to late night television unless something wild is going on. And we just learned that in the last day or so that Stephen Colbert will be canceled.
Hmm.
That they're going to cancel that. Now, I wanted to throw a couple of things at you on this before we get to the main part of the show. The number one thing is obviously similar to the flattening, right? Is I still watch Colbert all the time. How? I watch it on YouTube, right? I
Hmm.
get I literally can watch the entire show, maybe more of the show, because I think that
Hmm.
some of those segments are longer online or whatever it is. Okay. But these things have become, I don't want to call them albatrosses, but I've heard the production costs and everything going into all these late night shows are kind of in a little bit of trouble. Now there is definitely some politicking going on here as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I know we don't want to get too political, although it is what it is. He made some comments along with his former boss and another late night host about the 60 Minutes story and whatever else going on there. And it contributed to the end of the Late Show with Stephen Colbert. No question, right?
Yeah. And I was texting with some friends of mine earlier today. And, for me, it comes down to, though, don't protest too much. The people that I'm talking to from the inside, I mean, I have never seen in the media world, and I've been around it now since the
Yeah,
20th century, I have never heard such consistent talking points on any topic ever. It was purely a financial decision. It was purely a financial decision. And
yeah,
I'm talking to people from all angles of this ecosystem. And the minute you tell me that it's definitely not because of something. It definitely is because of something.
Mm.
I am a conspiracy theorist, so
Conspiracy. That's what I was about to say. Conspiracy theorist Beth. Oh boy.
I will cop to that 100%. But I'm sorry, you're just not going to convince me on the heels of the 60 Minutes payoff. I will call it a payoff because
Yeah.
I don't believe it was anything other than that. And the pending merger. We
Yeah.
know this.
That's
We
part of it.
know this administration is weaponizing these organizations. There's just no way you're going to convince me that the network that was hosting the #1 late night show, I don't care what late night's woes are, they had the #1 show.
And a
The
massive, and I'm just going to tell you right now. I mean, I pay attention to the YouTube stuff. He has massive
massive.
views.
A friend of mine actually sent me an article, and forgive me because I didn't memorize, but I want to
Yeah.
say in that article 220 million YouTube views. I forget if it was a day, a week, or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, massive. So the category leader doesn't lead in walking away from the category because the
And
writing's on the wall.
all due respect to the other two hosts, they're known as the Jimmies, right? Colbert was just more. I want to say he was more political, right? He was,
Mm-hmm.
but it was more political and in a different way, right? He's sharp.
Mm-hmm.
His writers,
Mm-hmm.
the way that he was doing stuff was very sharp, and there's no, in my mind, and I like the other guys alive. I've watched those clips, but I never watched those shows. I used to watch Colbert when I could stay up. Now, as
Yeah.
I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning or whatever, I fall asleep a little early. But yeah, it's an interesting end. We'll see where it goes from here. My
Yeah. I
thought
mean,
is he won't be quiet for long. I mean,
no,
no
that
way.
was my first thought. He is going to be just
This
fine.
is
Thank you
big.
very
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
So,
I think so. Yeah.
yeah, I think this is a great opportunity for him. And I, for one, will be canceling my Paramount Plus
Oh,
subscription.
oh. All right. You won't be watching Landman then, I think. Oh
I
no,
won't be watching Landman.
was Landman on there? I can't remember. I see. This is the thing. I don't even know. I know that
I'm
the
gonna
Tour de France is on Peacock. Okay, that's what I know.
I'm gonna
All right.
cancel it. I don't even pay for it. My credit card pays for it.
Yeah. All right. I am going to. We're going to pause here. We're going to come right back with what I'm calling the media game, but we're gonna talk about it. The week that was. We'll be right back. All right, Professor Egan. I'm going to now share my prop with you, or my technology. This is as
Bring it. Bring
technical
it.
as my conversation about business cards in our second episode. Here is the spinning wheel. So we have pure technology. Now, what I'm going to tell you is I'm going to have one of these sent up to the cabin. I want you to know, like, Beth is off in the woods on the weekends. I'm here in the big city. We're going to make sure that you get one of these because we're going to share this game eventually. Today, it's going to be me spinning the wheel for Beth. And we're going to do 3 topics. I have 6. I'm going to spin the wheel for you. And then you're going to tell me, then I'm going to tell you what the topic is, and you're going to comment. Because there
Okay.
were some pretty significant things happened here in June and into July. I can't remember a more kind of news wild. Now, granted, we have 2 wars going on. We have a very verbose president. We've got a lot of things, but I mean, it was unprecedented. So I'm going to start off. I'm going to spin the wheel. We have 6 topics. You do not know what the topics are. I can assure
I
you.
do not know. Can I
You might.
pass?
You cannot pass. No, there's no passing, and you won't let me pass either. So don't worry. So I'm gonna spin the wheel, and I've got them color coded and everything to match. So here I'm gonna hold up the iPad so you won't be able to see the topics, but you can see the color on this
All
side.
right. I trust you.
I'm being very fair. All right, I'm gonna spin the wheel for you. Next time you're gonna have one up in the cabin, so we'll do this every couple of weeks. and I'm going to spin the wheel, and you are going to land on, speaking of Landman. All right. So I'm interested in your thoughts because I know that, again, Professor Egan, the maven of media that you are, you must have purchased some advertising in movie theaters
Of
in
course.
your time with various brands. Summer blockbusters. So we seem to really, more than ever, right, ebb and flow. Now, I remember a
Hmm.
few years ago, we got the kind of the reboot of Top Gun, and that saved the cinema that year. This
Which I
summer,
still haven't seen, by the way.
yeah, well, no, you saw the first one, right? The
I
what was
did
that,
see the first
86?
one.
You're
Oh.
fine. You're fine. Maybe you put it on the TV one night. The question of summer blockbusters to me, so these summer blockbusters, and I'm going to see one this weekend. The wife has said we're going to the movie theater, and I agree. We have not gone to the movie theater in a while, so we're going to go, and we're going to either see F1, right, which is a Brad Pitt
Hmm.
summer blockbuster, or what could be a bigger summer blockbuster than Superman. But
Hmm.
my question to you is, again, talking about media, which we just come off of, like here I am talking about Landman, and I'm talking about all of these shows. Is the summer blockbuster still super relevant? Are companies saying, "Oh, I've got to be in that movie theater. I want to be part of that"? Is that something that's a big deal for you? And would you think that that's something that today's media, and you mentioned before that you're like, well, I got to target these people, but movie theaters are different. It's a big environment. It's a big screen. You've really captured them. They really are there to literally look at a screen. This isn't me walking around my house
Right.
sort of paying attention to the Tour de France and only interested in the last 10 kilometers. This is a movie theater where you've got a thing of popcorn, a soda, you're staring at that screen, you're going to see those ads. What's the story with the blockbuster, in your opinion, for advertisers?
Well, first of all, I mentioned that I haven't seen Top Gun because I'm one of those. I haven't really been back to the theater since COVID.
Oh,
I saw the Anthony Bourdain movie, and I think that's the only movie I've seen since COVID. And it's not a purposeful choice.
yep.
It just as an entertainment option has fallen off my radar. Um, I think you I think it's a very cyclical thing, and you kind of alluded to that. I think if you had asked me this question 2 years ago, I would have said no one's going back to the theater. It's
Mm,
over. Maybe these movie tavern things, yada yada. I mean, all theaters have kind of evolved to somewhat of that model.
yeah.
Um, but I think it is coming back around. I think the numbers are bearing that out. I had a student earlier this week she came into class Monday morning talking about the Superman movie. And I asked her where she saw it because I assumed she was in Syracuse, New York, bored out of her mind because there's very little to do,
How dare
especially
you?
when
How
it's
dare you? The governor is upset with us now. Go ahead.
I'd say the mayor, but he's not running for reelection, so he doesn't care either. I know, like a hot afternoon in upstate New or
Yeah.
hot
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I was like, "Oh, where did you see it?" She's like, "Oh, by Lincoln Center. I was down in the city this weekend."
No.
So I think it's coming back around to it's almost like I said I am hoping magazines come back. It's
Yeah.
kind of the
Yeah.
same thing. What's old is new again. So
Mhm.
for folks, it's now a novelty. And these hot weekends, you know.
Weather
er-
bad weather weekend and a hot weekend is usually
Mhm.
pretty good for a movie. But what the wild card is, of course, if the movie's any good, right? So if the
Right.
movie's no good, then you're in trouble. It seems like this F1 movie has captured the attention of a lot of people, much thanks to Netflix, right? Because of
Yes.
their series on
Yes.
Formula One. And
Yeah.
Superman is Superman, right? I mean, you have to have a good Superman movie because they have failed, but
Yeah.
it's really pushing some interesting things. I'm very curious to see where this kind of kickstart ends up taking us to the end of the year. All right, we're spinning the wheel. All right, here we go.
Drum roll.
Oh boy. I was kind of hoping that we didn't hit this one, but because we are going to make this into a podcast. This is going to be a full line story. Now, maybe it would be something that we'll tag team a couple of networks in, but so Linda Yaccarino.
That was going to be my guess, by the way.
All right. Well, yeah, it wasn't that hard. Linda Yaccarino jumped ship from X or whatever happens there. I can't really get used to calling it X. I have to call it Twitter.
I'm right there with you. I refuse.
Yeah, and what I'm curious about on your end, because I have a Twitter account. I have not been on it in 4 years, 5 years, maybe longer. Occasionally,
Same.
Obviously, I'll pop in there. I can't believe the photo of me in there is literally from 2008. I don't look like that person anymore.
Now I got to go look.
And here's the question: Is Twitter a factor? Is it a factor in advertising at this point? I mean, with all the stuff going on there, and then she's leaving. The Grok thing happens. They've. I know that it works. I know that Twitter works, but they're under enormous pressure from Mark Zuckerberg's platform, Blue Sky on the other side. So they've got real competition, and they're losing. It's still the platform in that kind of, what would it be, like the town crier of
Town Square
of networks? Yeah, like that type of thing. But would it be relevant for an advertiser at this point? Are you like, oh, great, I can't wait to run ads on Twitter? Like, she knew, right? She had to know, like, this is going to be one heck of a tall order.
I don't think she knew. I think she knew it was going to be a tall order, but I think she thought advertisers were going to flock to her because it's her. She ran a legacy media company and ran it brilliantly, by the way.
Yep.
I have had a lot of respect for her in the past.
Yeah.
So first of all, I'll give some credit to the advertisers who are still spending on X, because they are.
Yeah.
I think there's a value in that context, as you laid out, in terms of being that town square. What you share on Twitter is very, very different than what you're going to share. I mean, what you share on any social media is different, but I think Twitter does hold a very specific contextual space. Having said that, I said for years that Twitter was never a must-buy on anyone's plan. Again, unless you had a contextual reason for whatever. But from a reach perspective, Twitter was never a must-buy. The reason we spent so much time and money on Twitter was because of that sales force, because of what they offered, because of the partnerships that we could build. They were such a great company to work with. And, we had this whole social TV aspect there for a while with Twitter. Like I said, they just built some really great partnerships. So you wanted to spend with that.
Yeah, I read an article prior to this, which, obviously with the Linda kind of stuff. And I thought, and I read a little bit about the Musk takeover. This is pre Linda Yaccarino. So I was at the Possible show when she interviewed Musk.
Remember it well.
He still was working at Comcast or NBC Universal. I don't know exactly how that relationship, but whatever. And then within a couple months, she takes over. But he had already owned it, right? He had bought it. And from what I read, and this article was also related to the huge revenues that Facebook has brought in, is that basically Musk proved that you could kind of rip up 70% of the workforce and still have a platform that works. I mean, it's not
I
It's
think
not
people
the
would argue
same.
with you on that.
Okay. Okay. All
There
right.
were a
And that,
lot of
yeah.
there were a lot of technical issues. There were
Yeah.
obviously all the brand safety issues that he just ripped out. But I
Right.
get your point.
Yeah.
It didn't disappear
But I do think that
completely.
the competition is on their heels now. I don't think this is not Google owning 90% of the search market and we're like, oh, okay, somebody now has 5%. Great. This is I think Blue Sky is on their tail. I think they're
I
legitimate
think so too.
competitors.
Oh, I think so too. Look, first of all, you can't go tell advertisers to go F themselves and then turn
Probably,
around
yeah, probably not a good idea.
and say, I want legislation, I want regulation that forces you to advertise on my platform. I mean, the whole attack on GARM, which led to its dissolution, it's hard to say that anything surprises you anymore. The level to which we're willing to accept authoritarianism is not a topic for this show.
Yeah,
But I don't understand how you can say that you believe in capitalism, but think that any media organization
yeah, you
has
can
the right to
strong arm.
say
Right,
you have to advertise with me, which is
right.
basically what he is trying to do.
Yeah, yeah.
And
All right.
um,
No,
so
no,
I was just
I
going to say,
mean,
I think Linda knew exactly what she was getting into. And as with anyone in Trump or Musk's realm, one wrong move and you're out.
yeah, yeah. Unbelievable story. I mean, the idea that it just kind of happened that quickly. I think he made like thanks for your contributions. See you later. That was it. That wasn't even a see you
That was
later in
it.
there. All
No.
right, I'm
Well,
going to.
I can't wait for the next topic because so far we've just got bodies on the floor.
Yeah. Well,
Colbert,
I think it's going to get.
Yacarino. Who's
Oh my
next?
God, this is the one that's going to take the longest. Um. All right, I need to scroll up a bit. This is all about, and I know that you were off jet setting in Cannes and enjoying. I know they don't drink. They don't drink a Negroni there, but what do they have? Lillet. I mean, what's the deal?
Aperol
what's the official?
spritz,
Oh, they will
rosé.
do an Aperol. Okay,
Oh
all
yeah.
right.
Oh yeah.
So I wanted to talk about specifically June 12th to June 14th, which I'm going to tell you as being here suffering through the mosquito-filled summer that we've had here in the swamps of Jersey City was not a fun weekend. It was very hot. It was very muggy. And I want to just read off, because I put this together, between June 12th and June 14th. These are the big news stories. Now, I didn't get into the nitty gritty, but my conjecture and the reason why I wanted to talk about this is I think that not just Fox News, not just the New York Times, not just NBC and all the regular, I think the media, the coverage, the press, the news press was overwhelmed. And I'm going to read these topics to you, and I want you to give me your opinion if you think I'm right, because I saw some really strange stuff. So there's on the 12th, very sadly, tragically, we have that Air India crash, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is a really modern wide body airplane, which carries a lot of people, 242 people. One person survivor walks away, right? So one person, it hits a medical dormitory. I mean, this is a nightmare.
And I don't know if
Also
you
on
know
the,
this about me, but I'm infatuated with plane crashes, so I have lots of
yeah,
opinions on that. Continue.
great. So on that day also, and should have been a big story, the US and China trade deal, right? They're kind of making news out of these tariffs because remember, we're coming up on this August 1st deadline, and they say they have a letter, right? They have a letter of agreement, right? Which we still haven't heard about, but that is also big
I don't
news.
think anyone called it a letter of agreement. I think they just called it a letter.
A letter. That's right. Okay. So you were paying attention.
I don't think there's any agreement here.
There's no agreement yet. So then on the 13th, we have, and this is a precursor to obviously stuff that's going to happen later in the month, Israel, right, does some jab punching at some nuclear sites all over Iran, particularly one one big site, and that's on the 13th. Donald Trump deploys the military in LA. It's all on the 13th. The Columbia grad student is ordered to be released. Mahmoud Khalil is ordered to be released. On the 14th, we wake up in the morning. This is the parade morning. Now it's rainy. It's not really very nice in the New York area. And Washington, I think, had some serious cloud cover and some early rain, but it broke. A killer in Minnesota targets lawmakers in Minnesota and kills 2 people, right? We have the NBA playoffs going on, right? Well, the NBA finals, excuse me. The No Kings protest, and of course, the 250th year Army birthday parade in Washington, D.C. All this media, and there's a lot more. There were many more stories. I have never seen because I was on my device just wondering, like, because I could not, everything changed when I woke up kind of, I think it was probably like 11 in the morning, my day started already, but then people are like, oh, there's somebody, got shot a Minnesota lawmaker and dressed up as a cop to do it. Like I was like, oh my God. Like these stories are just fast and furious coming at us. And I feel like that none of this is we're 1 month removed, and none of this is kind of really remembered in any way. And I would love, and I know we're going to get a producer on because I was with him that day. I'm going to work this angle. What do you think these companies can do when there's that much media? What is the right thing to do? We just talked about X and Twitter as being part, because I know that went wild too, right? I mean, that was all the headlines are running through there, and that everybody's feeding and reading their devices on the move. This was a wild weekend of media. The parade alone, the protests, I didn't even bring that up. The No Kings protests, right? I did. The No Kings protests are going on. This was a crazy 3-4 day stretch. Thoughts and feelings, Professor Egan?
Well, I think you're getting to really more of an underlying issue on that. And that is, for the news producer, what is their objective? Excuse me. When you and I were growing up, I think the news producer would have sat back and looked at what has the greatest impact on the greatest number of people from an information standpoint. Which one of these stories is most important for people to understand? I think those days are long gone.
Yeah.
So is the news producer's objective to inform the public so they can make good decisions, smart decisions?
Yeah.
I shouldn't say good. Or is it to maximize eyeballs, to maximize revenue, to not get canceled? And I think that's kind of what you're seeing in terms of the schizophrenia, in terms of how they cover these things.
Yeah, I mean, what I was thinking during, and it's kind of crystallized with the Epstein stuff that's going on now, right? Is like one of these stories. I don't care which, like the horrible killer, in Minneapolis. Like to me, that's a massive story and should have tremendous legs. But it takes, it's a tremendous tragedy. I mean, you can't imagine, right? Like I can't even, I mean, that was crazy. That guy drives up to somebody's personal home in a police vehicle wearing police gear, shoots him up, goes after another, shoots the other two. Is it going to go on a rampage until they figure it out? Luckily they did.
Right.
That story was, I mean, it was big, and I'm not suggesting that it wasn't talked about. It was, but I think news sources were really torn on what to put up. And I mean, they wanted to cover those protests. They were, it kind of swamped the parade, but the parade still got ink or pixels as it were, on other places. Like, and then of course people start counting people in the crowd at the parade. Yet we have this killing going on in Minneapolis. Like, in other words, my faith, I hate to say this, has been restored in the sense of everybody seems to be on the Epstein thing.
Yeah.
But in this particular moment, I feel like they didn't know which car to get in. Like, it was like, hey,
Well,
what am I doing?
I don't think they did. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, to your point. Like, it was almost an unprecedented level of um, news coming at it. So I
Yeah.
don't care what decade we're sitting in, a news producer has to be
Yeah,
just like,
I'm glad you
what?
said that, because I didn't want to take this and be like, oh, well, back in the 1980s, Tom Brokaw would have known. No, I'm talking about
Yeah.
even 6 months ago. Like, this was a lot. This was a hefty amount, considering kids are out of school, right? Or they're
Yeah.
about to get out of school. Like, it was like a bananas weekend. And then obviously capped off, it was bookended with, the US bombers. I think I wrote this down. Maybe
That was
that was
Sunday, I
the
think.
22nd. We on the 22nd, which is only a few days later, right? Famously, after Trump said, hey, I'm going to give these guys 2 weeks, the next day he goes after that. But I'm just saying, like, this was a lot of media. When you were in Cannes, that weekend, what was the
But
media like there?
I was actually back by then.
Hmm.
I came back on the Thursday. So
Oh, okay.
I was here for that. But no, I mean, I think so. A couple of things, one is, yeah, it's a lot. So news producers just sitting in the studio. So to a certain extent, and rightfully so, are you just covering, throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing which story sticks so you can hold on to your viewers?
Yeah.
But you also brought up a very, very important point that, if we're talking about a CNN or a Fox News or any of the legacy companies, that's not really where people are going to get their news anyway. So,
Yeah.
most of what was coming out, we'll take the No Kings rally as an example. Most of the coverage, if you will, of that was through these things.
Yeah. Oh, it
Um,
definitely was.
So yeah, I mean, I think unfortunately, a lot of times these news organizations are just following what's already being talked about because that's what's going to keep people viewing. Even if they are watching CNN on their phone. Oh look, a little ice cream cone.
All right, I know I said 3, but since we're gonna wrap this up, and this one was one that I was kind of hoping we would hit on, just because it's very industry focused, and maybe in my mind, this is something that I've always thought. Like, so this year, famously, it's been talked about a lot that Publicis has surpassed WPP, right? And
Mhm.
obviously we had merger of another, huge 2 companies, Omnicom and IPG, and Publicis is quote unquote dominating all the, anything, anywhere you read in the trades, Publicis this, Publicis that, do an incredible job, all this stuff. My question to you is, if I'm a big marketer and I am looking around, and again, like, it's not like WPP lost its mind and they have no talent at WPP at this point. I mean, they must. If you were a marketer who was thinking about going into review, and you were and you're saying to yourself, boy, I'm over here at, I don't know, whatever, maybe they might even be at Publicis right now, isn't it the perfect time to, like, go and say to WPP, you want to pitch my business? Like, I don't understand. Like, I would be thinking, like, shit, there's a whole bunch of people there who are amazing, right? They've been the lead dog. They've been the New York Yankees or whatever for the past how many years? Like, why am I not bringing my business over there? Like, where does
Well,
the mindset go? I know that you want to be on top if you're Publicis, but doesn't that make it so that other people are like, well, they're going to take care of that client, not me? Thoughts, feelings, knowledge from the inside.
well, I was going to say, I think I've been away long enough that I can say this
Mm-hmm.
without giving away any insider. If you're a client thinking about pitching your business, I 100% would go to WPP because they're not going to charge you the first year. You're going to get it for free, just to get the win, to get the W. So yeah, do that. I think,
Even
look,
though
agents.
wait. Even though they're number 2,
Mhm,
they're still firmly number 2.
mhm.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. It's been happening for a long time.
Okay.
Now, let's be fair, give it away for free. They're just not charging you
I got
the
it.
the
Yeah.
revenue.
Yeah.
They got that trade desk over there
Right. That's
that's
still yeah. There's some margin.
funneling,
Yeah.
which,
Yeah.
by the way, I imagine Publicis is doing a lot of that. I think the big question for me, and I work for WPP, I work for Publicis. I think the big question for me is Publicis is winning from my conversations with folks. Publicis is winning because the perception is that they've won the data game. You know, the Epsilon
Oh.
purchase was really smart, and that they're really smart about how they're using the data, and that's what's attracting a lot of folks their way. I think, this always ebbs and flows. So, is that how long is that going to be their competitive advantage? One of two things is going to happen. The others are going to catch up. And by the way,
Yep.
WPP may be better. They just may not be better at convincing clients and pitches that
Selling
they're
it.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The WP needs to
Um,
sell it better.
Yeah. But it's also you know, Publicis has to deliver on a lot of these things.
Yeah.
And it's easy to bring the business in. It's a lot harder to manage it, especially if you're bringing it in and understaffing it, and the resource allocation isn't right.
That's what
So
that's what popped into my head. Like I was thinking, like, yeah, all right, great. They're now they now have a target on their back. If I were a big marketer and I were looking around, like, maybe I wasn't satisfied. I don't know where I am. I mean, even if I'm not a Publicis, wouldn't I just be like, man, they've got some serious talent over at WPP. Brian
yeah,
Gleason is there.
yeah,
They know what they're doing with data. Like, I mean,
yeah,
I recognize you're right. The Epsilon thing was a massive boon. They also have Publicis has some really talented people. I know some people there that
yeah,
I think are truly talented, young, energetic folks who really know how to do. But we're making it seem like, WPP is in the minor leagues. And I'm
yeah,
thinking,
yeah.
man, if
No.
all right, so good. That was my final topic. That was the one that I really wanted to get to.
Well,
I
I did
thought we
not
would
run
hit that
into
first.
our tour at con, but if I were him, I'd retire on top.
Ah, get out while the getting's good.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Well, with that bombshell, Professor Egan calling out the retirement, smart idea. I'm not. I mean, yeah, I'm with you on that.
We'll have to
Well,
tag him in the show notes.
yeah, we have some great guests coming up. We hope we're going to be on more and more podcasting networks, so you guys will be able to pick us up. This will be, this will take a couple of days to process and make some clips out of. But I had a lot of fun playing the media game with you, Beth. Let's get some WPP people to help us create a new name for our game. They got nothing to do apparently, so we'll get some.
Hey, we
Yeah.
got it. In the spirit of playing games this afternoon, do you know what WPP stands for?
I think I used to know. Oh God, no! Now that it comes to me,
And now
no.
I'm probably going to screw it up now that I said that. It's wire, plastics, and pipes, I believe. Sir
I did.
Martin, Sir Martin bought a grocery cart company, WPP, and turned it into a multi-billion dollar global ad network.
That's
And
incredible.
apologies to Sir Martin and WPP if I screwed up the two P's, but
We'll have to double check it when we come on next. We'll
yeah.
certainly make sure. But again, that company, loaded with talent. I assume there's going to be a lot of people who are going to just start saying, like you said, like, hey, I get that year. Why wouldn't I go there?
Mhm.
But very interesting stuff. We had a couple of topics we didn't touch on. Do you want to know what they were before we go?
Sure.
So the first one was also related to ad agencies and the pressure on these ad agencies who work with toy companies or companies that are really consumer electronics, anything leveraged against back to school and
Mhm.
holiday. I was thinking that
Mhm.
these tariffs have got to be playing massive games. I personally have a client who has a client who's in the consumer electronics space, and they've gone up and down. The planning is all over the place. And I was thinking about that. And then the last one, I think, is a topic that we'll definitely talk about. Again, because I talk to you often, I take everything that goes on that might affect Google as something that Google might be manipulating in the back end. The trade desk becomes part of the S&P 500. And I thought to myself, Google's got to be happy about this, right? Like, they are a legit threat now. They're a component of the S&P. That was the last topic. So we can throw those back onto the wheel for next time. Or if we have, with the way news moves today, we might have 6 more fresh topics, but we'll talk about that. Beth, go enjoy the pool. All right. Get yourself a Lillet or an Aperol
I will.
Spritz,
Do you want to spin the wheel to see if I go for vodka or tequila?
Oh, it would be great. I'm sure you and I will see each other soon. Bye-bye, Professor Egan.
Bye. Thank you.